All right. Well, hello, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us. We are excited to welcome Oliver L. Velez, the inaugural keynote speaker of the first Traders Expo, international best-selling author and world-renowned trader. Mr. Velez, thank you for being here. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you all for attending. Once again, thank you to the Money Show for having me. I always enjoy doing these things. This is actually my third event here this week, which is not normal, but had a lot of fun over the last two sessions. I hope we're able to hit three out of three out of the park here. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're going to turn our attention to the wealth game. Over the last two sessions, I've been focused more primarily on short-term oriented trading techniques and tactics. But today I'd like to sort of move our attention to the wealth game. And I have come to be known in this industry more as an individual who is trading oriented. That has been my history. That is how I got started in the business all the way back in 1986, actually. And my notoriety and my small degree of fame in the space has largely come from my short-term oriented trading activity. Most of my work in public has been centered around short-term oriented trading as well. And it's how I got started, quite honestly. But what I think what a growing number of people are starting to realize, and what has been the case for over 2 decades, is that the vast majority of my personal activity is on the wealth side. And this might come as a surprise to some people that at this particular point in my career, I would say that as little as 10% of, maybe far less than 10% actually, of my overall personal funds are deployed in a short-term oriented trading fashion. That doesn't mean that I personally don't trade the markets every single day. I believe that I will trade the markets until the day I die. It's a wonderful activity, and I still do that with my traders every single day of my life. But if you were to divide my personal funds into short-term oriented market play and wealth-oriented market play, you would clearly see that the bulk, if not the vast majority of my funds, are deployed in a wealth-oriented strategy. And this is something that I'm constantly talking to my traders about, that, you know, the short-term oriented trading style is one of the most important and one of the most valuable activities I think a market participant can have. But it is income generating in nature and not necessarily wealth generating. I'm not certainly saying that you can't generate a lot of income, but still it's income. It's everyday based or every week based. And there's a point in a trader's development that they get to a place where they're earning very decently with their market activity, their short-term oriented market activity, and they're earning far more than they actually need to support themselves on a day-to-day basis. So what do you do with the excess? What do you do to prepare for, what do you do to store and protect what you actually don't need now? And this is something that I am even today increasingly preparing my traders for, this point in your development where you do have to focus on wealth. And then once you focus on wealth for yourself, you have to actually start focusing on generational wealth. So what I actually want to do today is something that I normally don't do here. I'd like to engage with you a little bit more. I want to talk to you. I want to take some of your questions on the spot, which I'm almost always cramped for time and can't do. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to do that today. I wanted to do that a little. I wanted to conduct this event a little more differently, and I might need the help of my co-moderator here, if you don't mind, to read some of the questions off to me, if possible, that come through. But I'm going to press you to talk to me today. I'm going to press you to shoot your questions at me regarding this topic. Okay. And so are we okay with that, doing that? Can someone help me with the questions? Because unless there's a way for me to see that very quickly.
Absolutely. So as soon as they come in, I'll let you know.
All right, fantastic, fantastic. So I want to start off by telling a story, and I want to tell my personal story. I'm going to take this screen off for the moment here and just go straight to my camera. I hope that's still okay. I've had several things, 3 to 4 major things that have affected my life in a big way. The first thing that affected my life was when I was far too young to understand what happened. My father, without going into too many of the details here because my time is limited, my father, when I was an infant, relatively an infant, made a huge score in the markets. He had put his whole life savings into gold. We're talking about the early 1970s. And something really interesting happened on August 15th of 1971. What happened was that President Nixon, the current president of the United States at that time, took the U.S. off of the gold standard, the world for the most part the U.S. became off of the gold standard. And for the first time, the U.S. dollar became a true fiat, 100% fiat currency backed simply by the faith of the U.S. government to pay its debts. What that did was it unleashed gold, which up until that point was imprisoned by a price cap, meaning that gold was not allowed to fluctuate in price beyond $35 an ounce. Because of the help of a family friend, my father believed that this break in the cap of gold's price was going to happen at some point in the near future. It happened on October 15th of 1971. My father had been accumulating gold for a number of years. And as soon as that happened, gold became liberated. And because of its liberation, gold went in a relatively short period of time from $35 an ounce to almost 1,000. I think it actually topped 1,000. I remember my father sold out of most of his gold slightly above $800 an ounce. So think of a stock going from $35 to $800 in a short period of time. Of course, this changed my family's life forever. I mean, I went from being a lower middle class kid, thanks, Barbara, a lower middle class, a kid in a lower middle class family, basically living an ordinary life in New York City, to my life just dramatically changing on me. From my school changed, my state changed in the United States, my home changed, our cars changed, my clothes changed, my friends changed, my level of education changed. And so what was interesting is that I was too young to realize it, but that was a major event that ultimately led me to want to be a financial market participant myself, because when I realized what happened to us, I was old enough to say, wow, if my dad did this for a family with one decision, I want to do this and just make these decisions all the time. So I found out there was a way. There was something called a trader, a market participant, that you could make your career in this, and that from that day forward, that's all I've wanted to do in life. So that event was very moving for me. It was a wealth event, okay? I start my trading career on Wall Street in December of 1986, after about 7 years I have a very, very solid 7-year run. And I, I bring myself to the point where I need to start thinking about wealth moves the same way my dad thought about a wealth move, um, almost 2 decades or more before. And I began to take my excess, and I felt that one of the better plays, one of the better wealth plays at the time was um, technology. That I was an early adopter of computers when most people around me weren't, or what have you. So Microsoft became my number one play in life. I, like my father, took most of my excess at the time and began putting it into Microsoft. And it proved to be a huge success for me. I'm going to speed up this story so we can get to the point. Microsoft, after really doing extraordinarily well, Bill Gates made a move that caught my attention. He made his first investment into Apple Computer, and these two companies were at odds with each other. And I said, listen, whatever's good for Bill Gates is good for me. So I actually sold a big chunk of my Microsoft, kept some, but I did the same thing that Bill Gates did. And I put about 3/4 of what I had made from my Microsoft play into Apple. I was following Bill Gates' steps. Okay. So Apple became my largest play. And to date, this is in 1997, 98 or so. Okay. After the dot-com bubble burst, the next thing that caught my attention was this little company called Amazon. And people had lost faith in this. The vast majority of people did not believe in this, the future, especially after the dot-com bubble burst and most companies went to zero in the internet space. But I felt like Amazon was the future. Something clicked. And so I took virtually everything that I had accumulated up to that point and piled it into Amazon. The price was $7.50 at that time. And today, from $7.50, Amazon reached almost $4,000, one of the richest companies in the world. It still continues to be one of the largest positions I have in the equity markets. But not only that, Amazon is the largest position I have. Apple is the second largest position I have, and Microsoft is the third largest position I have. Now, if I can go to this, let me just do this really, really quickly if I can here. No, I can't do this here. I want to show you something here. If I may, I want to show you that to full screen. Boom. Okay. I want to show you, you can look this up yourself. This is the world's top assets by market cap. Now, gold was my family's first play. Look at gold's position. This is the beginning of the 1970s, right? My life changed because of the number one asset in the world, gold. My next play, my next wealth play to carry this legacy on was Microsoft. Microsoft led me to Apple. After Apple, I did Amazon. So no Google and no Saudi Aramco, all right? But then Amazon became my play after Apple, which is my biggest holding at the current moment, as far as stocks are concerned. And I will tell you that what slipped back in here during my career on this wealth curve was I played gold heavily again after Amazon. So gold slipped back in to be a very big play of mine in 2005, to be exact. I think it was 2005. Yes, 2005 to be exact. So I went from Microsoft to Apple to Amazon to gold again. Okay. And in the year 2020, a new chapter opened for me, a new wealth chapter. I look at these as all wealth chapters. And I have to, when I look at this screen, traders, I have to say, how lucky was I? I mean, is that level of consistency luck? Not totally, but still, like out of the top 10, okay, out of the top 10 most valuable assets in the entire world, I had gold, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon. In 2020, I decided to turn my full attention to Bitcoin. I felt about Bitcoin in early 2020 the same way I felt about Microsoft at the time. I felt the same way I felt about Apple, the same way I felt about Amazon, and the same way I felt about gold. Now, I want to take you back to a chart as to explain to you why I believed that I should repeat the performance of my dad. I felt like gold had to be played again. And I want to take you to this and show you why. All right. I will take you to this chart, and the chart's visible for everyone. Is that good? Can you see that?
It looks great.
Perfect. Okay. I'm going to close this out. And I want to take you to the ETF. This symbol is GLD. This is the number one ETF for gold. Now, when my father played gold, my father played bullion. My father bought gold. He bought ounces of gold. He bought a combination of gold coins, and he bought gold bricks. He bought bullion gold, right? There was no ETF. ETFs weren't a thing back then. They weren't even created. When the first gold ETF was announced, it brought back all the memories of what my father had done with gold. I said, I have to do this. Like, this is going to make gold ownership so much easier. I remember playing with hurting myself on my dad's gold bricks. I remember I went to the hospital one time when I dropped one on my foot. True story. He would let me play with some of the coins, the 24 karat coins that he would collect. But I remember how it wasn't so easy to own it. And I felt like this concept of a gold ETF was going to explode the ownership of this extraordinarily valuable asset, this asset that changed my life. And so I decided that I was going to really put as much as I possibly could into this new form of gold ownership called, what is it called? The Spider Gold Trust. This was in 2005, if I'm not mistaken. There we go. Here we go, 2005. We go right there. And I want you to look at this chart. From its start, it actually started in December of 2004. I got into it in early 2005. And look at what happened over years, 2007, 2009, all the way into the beginning of 2011, where it topped out. Now, if you were to go to my Facebook page and go all the way back to the late 2000, 2007, 2008, 2009, you will see me pounding the table on my Facebook page about gold. Okay. At any rate, so this became a big score of mine as well. But I want you to look at what happened after this. And I want you to look at from 2011, the peak, and I want you to go all the way to the right. And I want you to see 2021. If you had held gold from the peak of 2011, 10 years later, you are in negative territory. You suffered a great multi-year decline, all right, a bottom. And yes, we came back to preserve our capital. But even from the peak of 2011 to the current price today, you're actually down. 10 years, gold has failed. And it is this failure that opened my eyes to the next, what I feel is the next wealth opportunity. It's gold 2.0, but it's not, and that's Bitcoin. My experience, my family's experience, my experience with gold made it easy for me to see the value prospect of Bitcoin, which is a better form of gold, which is a new age form of gold, which is the digital form of gold. Gold is analog, and Bitcoin is the new version. Gold is blockbuster video, and Bitcoin is Netflix. Gold is the phone with the cord wrapped around it that you dial, and Bitcoin's the iPhone. Gold is the vinyl record we used to play years and years ago, and Bitcoin is Spotify. Bitcoin's the digital dematerialized version of gold. And it is going to, in my opinion, it already has, taking over. It is the 2.0 version. But it's not just that. I realized that it's not that I should have, it's not that I should take everything that I've had traditionally in gold and put it into Bitcoin, but it's also the next Amazon. It's the next Microsoft. It's the next Apple. It's the next, more than gold, more than Apple, more than Amazon. It's the next freaking internet. When this dawned on me, I will tell you the brightest light that has ever lit up in my life happened. Brighter than the Microsoft light, brighter than the Apple light, brighter than the Amazon light, and brighter than the gold light. Those things were the biggest wealth plays of my life. But I believe this one is going to top them all. You see, this is not just Bitcoin, in my opinion, which I'm going to pull up here, is not just the Bitcoin is not just the next gold. It's not just the next Amazon or the next Apple or the next Microsoft. It's the next everything. It's the next internet. And when I realized this, it hit me like a ton of bricks. You see, there are people that want to put Bitcoin in a specific category, but it's almost all categories. It's the ultimate store of wealth. It's the best way to look at it. It's the world's new protocol. You see, Amazon is not a protocol. Amazon's a company. Apple's not a protocol. Apple's a company. Microsoft's not a protocol. Microsoft's a company. Gold is not a protocol. Gold is a commodity. Bitcoin is a protocol. Well, what other protocols do we have to compare to? Well, the internet. The internet work is and was a protocol. Now, whoever plugged themselves into that protocol correctly became trillion-dollar companies. Microsoft plugged itself into the internet after poo-pooing the internet for a number of years. It plugged its whole business into the internet and became a trillion-dollar company. It today is surpassed Apple to become the richest company in the world. Apple plugged itself into the internet by coming up with the first internet-based phone, the iPhone. It became the second most valuable company in the world, 2.5 trillion. Google built its whole business by plugging itself into the internet protocol. Google is $2 trillion. Amazon's whole business was plugging itself into the protocol. It became a $1.7 trillion company. The protocol is, these companies are not the protocol. They plug themselves into the protocol. So if Microsoft is 2.5 trillion, Apple's 2.5 trillion, Google is 2 trillion, Amazon's 1.7 trillion, what must the protocol, the internet, be worth? What if we had the ability to buy pieces of the protocol, to buy a portion of the thing that these trillion-dollar companies plug themselves into? Well, today, for the first time, we didn't have an opportunity to buy the internet, the real estate into which these companies plug themselves into. Today we do, because Bitcoin is the new protocol that I believe every company is going to have to plug themselves into. And you're starting to see it. You're starting to see the companies like Square plug themselves into the protocol, Twitter plug themselves into the protocol, MicroStrategy plug themselves into the Bitcoin protocol, PayPal plugging themselves into the Bitcoin protocol. You're starting to see miners of Bitcoin who are already plugged in the protocol go public so that they can continue to mine Bitcoin and not own it anymore. You're starting to see Visa said, in order for us to survive, we're going to have to plug ourselves into the protocol. MasterCard, if we're going to survive, we have to plug ourselves into the protocol. PayPal, we're going to have to plug ourselves into the protocol. Banks have lobbied to get the right to plug themselves into the Bitcoin protocol by being able to custody Bitcoin. Every single week, we see companies that are realizing we had better plug ourselves into this brand new internet or get left behind. So my whole point of this talk today was to say, I believe, like I believed with Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, gold at some point, and Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, and gold at some point. I believe that the next several decades, the most powerful companies in the world will be those who adopt this protocol first before everyone else. That I think that one of the easiest ways in the future to make wealth in companies is to pick those who are the most integrated into this protocol. The same way that the richest companies today were the ones who plugged themselves securely into the internet protocol. The next several decades, I believe we're going to see the wealthiest, most successful, most valuable companies are those that plug themselves into the Bitcoin protocol. And every single one of these companies have already began to do that at the top. Now, let's go just a little bit below. Look at what's eighth. Bitcoin is the eighth most valuable asset in the world, yet it's the youngest one on the list. It took Microsoft 44 years to become a $1 trillion asset. It took Apple 42 years. It took Amazon 24 years. It took Google 21 years. It took Bitcoin 12 years to become a $1 trillion asset. It's the baby of the bunch. And I believe that by the end of the year, Bitcoin moves up to number 2 or number 3. That's by the end of the year. That's only a few weeks away. As Bitcoin continues to rise up the ranks of the most valuable asset in the world, every company under it is going to know we've got to plug ourselves into this thing, into this incredible protocol that is eating the world. And if you look at stocks today, The things that are moving the most, the things that get the most buzz, the things that are getting the biggest investments are the companies that are adopting the new internet. Bitcoin is internet 2.0, the same way it's gold 2.0. It's future 2.0. And so I have never in my life seen something so clearly. And a lot of people are asking me to, Oliver, why can't you seem to talk about anything else? Because I just don't see. I don't see anything bigger than this going forward. And I'm not talking about going for the next year or two. I'm talking about for the rest of my life, for the rest of your life. And I believe that if we don't plug ourselves in now, if we don't start playing the companies that plug themselves in, and if we don't start plugging our own selves into this internet, we're going to be left behind. How many companies didn't believe in the internet and adopted it too late? They're gone today. How many people didn't take hold? Blockbuster didn't take hold of the dematerialization of the movie industry. How many music companies are zero today because they fail to adopt to the dematerialization of music? All right. Everything's been dematerialized from photos. We don't have albums anymore. We look at our photos on our phone. We don't hold up albums and run across the street and show the friend the new album we bought today. We have Spotify. Music has been dematerialized. Movies have been dematerialized. There's no physical movie. I used to run to Blockbuster and grab the physical movie off the shelf before someone else got the 27 copies that were in that location. But movies today are dematerialized. How do you give 8 billion people the same song? You dematerialize it because you can't create enough physical songs for 8 billion people. But if you dematerialize it and put it on their phones, 8 billion people can have the same song. How do you give 8 billion people the same movie? You create 8 billion copies of a movie? No, that's absurd. To give it to 8 billion people, you dematerialize the movie. You dematerialize photos. You dematerialize knowledge. How many libraries are empty today? Because all of that knowledge on the shelves is in my hand. Information has been dematerialized. Knowledge has been dematerialized. Movies, music, photos, everything's been dematerialized and has become bigger. The dematerialized form is bigger than the physical form. Well, gold is being dematerialized by Bitcoin. Money is being dematerialized by Bitcoin. Bitcoin is dematerializing. It's taking the dematerialization of the world to the next level. Do you know how? Think about this. Think of all the wealth that's stored in real estate today. It's freaking $300 trillion is in real estate today. But yet, it's an imperfect asset. It's an imperfect store of wealth. Do you know why? Because it's taxed. It's taxed just sitting there. It's an improper product. It's an improper form of property today because I can't move it if I want to move. I can't even control my renters in today's world with a rental property. Even if they're not paying me rent, I can't kick them out today. I can't control that. I can't control if taxes go up exponentially on me. I have maintenance costs. I've got taxes. I can't control my renters, and I can't move it if I don't want to live here anymore. But with Bitcoin with 12 English words, I can go anywhere in the world. Bitcoin doesn't have maintenance costs. I had a truckload of gold in a vault somewhere in London, which I never saw. They told me it was there. I never saw my gold. They never showed me the cage with my name on it. I don't know if my gold was owned 27 times over. I was just told. I got reports every single month on the gold I had in London for 12 years. I paid insurance on it. I paid maintenance fees. There's no insurance on Bitcoin. There's no maintenance fees. I don't have to trust anyone. I am in full possession with 12 English words. And you know what? If I don't like it here, I can move with all of my wealth, all of my assets, my full property in my full control anywhere on planet Earth. And if I want to get on a ship or a spaceship that's created by Elon Musk, or Jeff Bezos, or a Virgin, and go out of space, I can take it out of space too. So my point is that Bitcoin is going to dematerialize everything. It's going to dematerialize property. It's going to dematerialize stocks. Now, stocks have been a great source or store of value in the past. Why? Because it's somewhat limited. I mean, there's only so many shares of Apple. There's like 16 billion shares outstanding. There's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin. So that shows you the scarcity level is far higher with Bitcoin than Apple. But it's at the same point is that Apple is somewhat limited unless they decide to print more, which I'm not in control of. Thank God they haven't. They're actually buying their shares back, which is slightly increasing the value of every share of Apple. But my point is that the equity market has been a store of value. That's $100 trillion. But what does that do for me if I want in Zimbabwe? Like, it's not valuable there. It still has limitations. What I'm saying is that there is a new technological revolution upon us that is the dematerialization, the same way music was, movies were, gold is being materialized. All stores of wealth are being materialized. I had advisors had me collecting wine. I didn't want to collect wine, but it was a great store of value. I collected watches. I had 300 plus watches. I didn't really want 300 watches, but they did go up in price. My wine did sell for 20% higher over a period of time. But these are things that I did out of necessity. The art business, most people are buying art not because they love it. Most of these things are ugly. These statues and these paintings, some people love it, but most people, that's an ugly thing. But some advisor told them to go into art. Art's a $40 trillion business. Wine's is a $9 trillion store of wealth business. Real estate's a $300 trillion business. The equity market is a $100 trillion business. Gold, as you see on this screen here, is an $11 trillion asset. And I believe that the new kid on the block, Bitcoin, is coming for their lunch. It is coming to take a portion of art. It's coming to take a portion of wine. It's coming to take a portion of watches. It's coming to take a portion of gold. It's coming to take a portion of equities. It's coming to take a portion of real estate. Do you know why? Because all of those assets are still part and parcel of the analog world. And Bitcoin's come to be totally digital, totally dematerialized. And I don't have to trust anyone. I don't have to be taxed away. I can move it anywhere I want to. I don't have to trust anyone. I don't have to pay insurance on it. I don't have to pay maintenance fees.
Hey, Oliver, I'm sorry to interrupt. We are out of time, but could we take a couple like rapid fire questions before we go?
Yes. So anyway, that's my whole point today, guys. Bitcoin is my future, and I think it should be yours too. Yes, let's do that very quickly.
All right, thank you. So first off, is it a good time to buy Bitcoin now? And how do you hedge against large market downturns?
Good. Now, good question. I believe that it's always a time to buy Bitcoin, because if you think about what the future is for Bitcoin, it's a 12-year-old. You don't treat a 12-year-old as if it's too late. You treat a 12-year-old like you're getting in young. So even if the 12-year-old has shown professional-like qualities, like a LeBron James in basketball was great at 12, but that didn't mean his career was over. So that didn't mean that you were investing in LeBron James at 12 years old late. So it's always the time, in my opinion. Think of Apple at 12 years old. Think of Amazon at 12 years old. Think of Microsoft at 12 years old, thinking that you were late. You're not late. These things play out over decades, 44 years. Microsoft, there was never a good time to sell Microsoft in the last 44 years. Never a good time to sell Apple in the last 42 years. Amazon in the last 22 years. We've got a long way. We're early. So the way you do this is you put some in now and you use a dollar cost averaging plan. When you have a volatile asset like Bitcoin, dollar cost averaging turns volatility into your asset, into your best friend. You don't want to dollar cost average a low volatility asset. You want a dollar cost average into a volatile asset, and then volatility rewards you. So you put some in, you never try to guess when to time it. You start off with some and then dollar cost average. Pick an amount, weekly, monthly, quarterly. The amount's not important. This consistency is the important thing. Now, I will tell you this last thing. Bitcoin historically has never failed a person who's given it 4 years. Treat it like a college degree. Give Bitcoin 4 years of dollar cost averaging, and statistically, it has never, ever failed a person 4 years. If you're willing to give it 4 years, I believe this trend is going to continue for the rest of our lives. The same way the equity market's been going up for decades, the same way Amazon's been going up for over 2 decades, the same way Apple's been going up for 4 decades. We've got decades in front of us here. Don't think you're late. Think we're early. Next question.
What are your thoughts on Ethereum and other altcoins?
I have to say that I generally have a very low opinion of other cryptocurrencies. I have to be honest with you and say I own a ton of Ethereum, but it was before I truly understood what really Bitcoin was. Now, I'm not sorry I did that. I still own a truckload. I am at some point thinking about, at some point in the future, transferring that into Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is something more than just an opportunity. Ethereum and maybe some others are more of an opportunity. They're not freedom. They're different from where you store your life wealth in. They're temporary. You can potentially gain from them, but this is different. This goes over and beyond. Think of this. I can buy and sell Apple. I can buy and sell Amazon, but if I own the internet that was giving life to all of them, you would never get me to sell the internet. Bitcoin is the internet of all of it. Do you understand? It's the protocol. We've never been given the ability to own the internet. We've never been given the ability to own the protocol. This is the first time in history we can own the protocol. Trade what Bitcoin gives life to. Trade it back and forth. But you don't give up the protocol. Treat it like Manhattan real estate. Buy and sell the buildings. If this building on your property, go sell it. Sell it at the top if you think that's the top, but don't sell that Manhattan real estate, please. We've got the real estate, and that's the difference between Bitcoin and everything else. Everything else is a building. It's not the protocol. Even the Ethereums of the world got their life because of Bitcoin. Do you understand? It's the base layer. It's going to become the base layer, in my opinion, of the entire world. No matter what stories you hear, in my opinion, that's what it's going to become. Any others?
Yeah, we have time for one last question here.
Okay, cool.
Which broker do you use to buy Bitcoin?
Good question. There are a variety. I will tell you that my favorite, and this is one that I truly, I think that everyone who has the ability to open up here should open up here. It's called swanbitcoin.com. And I believe you get something special if you use my link, swanbitcoin.com/OL Velez 007. That's how I'm known throughout the industry, OL Velez 007. So swanbitcoin.com/OL Velez 007. Now, what's special about them is that they're 100% Bitcoin. You can set up your own dollar cost averaging plan there. They'll take care of it for you. They even encourage self-custody where you set the level. When you get this amount of Bitcoin, they will move it to your private custody wallet for you. They don't believe in holding your Bitcoin. They want you to hold your Bitcoin. And so this is the purest way, swanbitcoin.com. I do have accounts at a lot of the others, Coinbase or what have you, but if I had to be stuck with one, I would do swanbitcoin.com. They do it right. They're professional, and they also invest in educating you. And that is what I think is so missing in the space. It's not just that you buy and sell there. They're going to take the time to educate you throughout your journey in this new space. So try them out.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And thank you to everyone for attending. As a friendly reminder, if you'd like unlimited access to replay 50+ sessions from this week's event, please visit virtualpass.moneyshow.com.
All right. Ciao for now.